slap yourself and bring yourself to reality. Marriage means work. You have to work in a relationship, no matter whom you get married to. When I had just gotten divorced, I went into another relationship right away. And later on in life, I learned those are called rebounds. They are very bad for you. You hear about people being people pleasers, but I'm a mommy pleaser.
Oh.
I'm just going to put it as simple as I am second sunrise.
Oh, yes.
आज मैं ऊपर आसमां नीचे आज मैं आगे ज़माना है पीछे. I don't mind men who cry. I think it is very sexy.
Mamta, is there anything called perfect marriage or a perfect relationship? She's graced the screen with that luminous presence, sung her way into hearts and faced down storms that would have broken most people. But here is the thing about her. She doesn't just survive, she transforms. Every challenge becomes a chapter. Every setback a setup for something stronger. She's redefining what it means to be whole, to be powerful, to be unapologetically yourself. Welcoming Mamta Mohandas, and this is her story of Second Sunrise. Hi Mamta.
Hi, ma'am.
You look chic. Yeah, absolutely chic you look.
Thank you. You too. I love your color.
Thank you. This
Yes.
is all acquired, but you were like born and brought up in a cosmopolitan place.
Yeah.
I grew up in a small town where everybody will look at what you're wearing. But you had the privilege of a cosmopolitan upbringing in Bahrain. Tell me about it.
Well, I was, I'd say I'm very lucky and fortunate to have been, born, raised in Bahrain. Very organized environment. That's the first thing that how it has actually helped me in my life later on is why I'm thankful to my life in Bahrain is because I'm someone who's very structured, and I think respecting the rules and law of the land, that is something that I've learned because I grew up over there, and it would have been a very different experience if I was in India. So it was nice, very nuclear family. Obviously, my parents are from Kerala.
They're from Kerala,
They're from
so
Kerala.
they had every bit of Kerala in them in a cosmopolitan place.
Yes, and Daddy actually left Kerala when he was 17 to go to Calcutta. He worked for a few years in Calcutta with an uncle of his. He was a little bit of a rebel child, and you can tell before 18 he's left the house. Yeah. So he had a plan for himself, and I think one of the reasons for that was my grandfather, my dad's dad, was a very, very strict individual. I mean, I've heard stories of, even though my dad was one of those very self-aware and very attentive to his siblings, sort of a, good boy, nothing was ever enough. And I heard that it was very hard to please my grandfather. So quite obviously, this is the reason why I think he took a little bit of cash from the mum. And he said, I'm going to work with uncle. I don't want to finish my studies. I think he left midway between his BCom.
Okay.
Went to Calcutta. Then from there, I think 74, he moved to Muscat. 75, he moves to Bahrain and started as an accountant and then became a banker slowly. So those were his steps. And so you can imagine he's landed in Bahrain pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
After he came down to India, liked mom, arranged marriage, brought her to Bahrain. She is quite young too, 21, 22. Back then, you can imagine how much limited exposure you have at the time. Of course, she was a math graduate, but that doesn't mean you have life experience. I think she even fumbled when she spoke English when she came to Bahrain. And very soon I was born, within a year of them getting married. And I had a very quiet childhood because I don't have any siblings. So most of my years was spent in, my mom is a very, very strict teacher. She taught in a school for a while, and so she would do her school hours, and then after that she would tutor me as well. And she would make sure that she doesn't care if I drop marks in other subjects, but math has to be 100 on 100. If not, that's it. She turns into Hitler.
Okay.
I was very scared of my mom.
Okay.
And I think much of my personality or how I am as a person has been more about. You hear about people being people pleasers, but I'm a mommy pleaser.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
I need her validation in everything. And the moment her face changes, I know it doesn't sit. If it's not sitting right with her, I drop it then and there. That's something is there, I think, ingrained. So my dad said, if you want to do your masters, you can do it abroad, because all my batchmates had gone to.
So did they know that you wanted to be in films, mom and dad?
I did not. I did not want to be in films, and films actually just happened.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that had a lot to do with my background as well, which was accidental. It was through, I don't think you know the story. So my parents had attended actor Vineet's wedding, and he's from Chennai, right? Yeah. And Vineet got married to Priscilla.
Yes.
Priscilla is a distant relative of my dad.
Okay.
So Priscilla's dad was no more, and she grew up in Bahrain as well. And her mom called and said, we need a father representative, someone to represent the daddy's sthanam. Mohandas for Kalyanam. And my dad basically, was there at the wedding, and there they met director Hariharan.
Okay.
He's introduced to director Hariharan, and they happened to speak about Monisha, actress Monisha, who passed away several years ago. Her mother happened to be there. Suddenly, small talk led to understanding that Monisha also went to Mount Carmel College, and where's your daughter? They said she didn't come. She's in her final year now, so definitely bring her home. When you guys come back to Bangalore. And it just, that little meeting was, she just wanted to meet me because she was doing a tribute show for Monisha in the same college, and she was looking for an MC who can speak both English and Malayalam.
Okay.
I said, Auntie, I've not done this in a long. I've not read Malayalam as a script in a long time. Let me sleep over this. I was just leaving their house after a cup of chai, all the three of us, dad, mom, and me. All of a sudden, Hariharan sir's call comes to her, and in the Mohiniyattatinte students in a photo, ഒരുപാട് photo students in it. And that's when I'm understanding that kids here really want to be in cinema. I was thinking that I'm going to be an investment banker just like my dad. So that's where my head was sitting. So she said, Mamta, there's one girl in front of me right now. And she just asked my dad, and then we walked back in. I said, I want to meet Hariharan sir, but cinema no. And it was funny, my attitude back then. I'm like, if it was Hollywood or some other, I can think about it. But, Malayalam cinema, I'm not thinking that I would ever be able to.
But even though you grew up with Malayalam films.
Yeah, of course. I like certain things in traditional Tharavadu, Ambalangal, music and dance. It's pure art that I enjoy about cinema. We've steered a lot, very, very far away from that form of, understanding our culture. So, and I met Hariharan sir and I said, and I think he liked my attitude. I sat like this, like nobody really sits like that, I think. And he said, okay, photo. Like, he's taking my picture without asking me. So this is what my dad said. Really sorry for how she is. She was raised outside. He said, no, this one is just like my daughter Gayatri. So that's what landed me the film. And they were very insistent. They pursued.
Yeah.
And I finally said yes. I said, I have 1 month off during Diwali holidays. I'll give you those 30 days. The film took 62 days to get over.
Yeah,
so that's how Mamta turned into Mamta Mohandas, his screen name. He even asked me in between, do you want it? He has that habit of, changing actresses' names. I didn't know all this, but it's nice to understand cinema like that. Me as well as Saiju Kurup, who was my, he was also a debutante. Okay. Both of us were like children on the sets. Like we know nothing. We're just aping what he's expecting us to do. Later on, I was like, I'm not going to even think about doing another cinema until I see myself on screen. Okay. And I think I was a disaster. Personally, I feel I was a disaster.
It sounds like a deja vu for me. Because I did the same thing.
Because you don't even know your face angles and like nothing. It was really, I was like, why did I keep my mouth like that? Keep your mouth shut.
So how did you fit in and Katha Todarunu? That was like a turning point in your career. And I think during that time, I think there were changes in your private life also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things were going on.
And then you had this wedding, and then you have your career,
Mhm.
and you have your singing,
Mm.
and your travel
Lot
from
of
different
things were
places.
happening,
How did you
yeah.
manage all that? A career that you didn't plan at all for,
Yeah, I didn't plan at all.
and
But
the
followed.
relationship that you didn't really plan.
Yeah, I mean, everything just happened all of a See, one thing that happens in cinema is I started working at the age of 21, my first film. And what happens is when you start working in cinema, especially, is you are constantly surrounded. Your family is always with you. My dad's first condition, even when I did that first film, was that mom is going to be with you all the time. And I was like, yeah, I mean, obviously, in second year of college, my mom joined me. Since then, she's with me, even now.
Okay.
So you're always surrounded, and you don't know how to focus on your personal life.
Absolutely, yeah. When somebody
Even
likes you,
before
when you
you-
like somebody,
Yeah,
it has to
you
be.
just know, and it's all this kannil kanna.
Yeah.
You can only have this long distance,
Yeah.
telepathic communication. Back then, I did not have a phone of my own either,
Yes.
so there's no number exchange.
Okay.
So
Absolutely no privacy at all.
no
freedom.
privacy at all. You're
And
always,
no freedom to find out what kind of emotions are being sent across,
And, yeah.
what you're receiving, nothing.
And whatever we have understood about relationships is only from cinema.
Yes.
So we think it just happens like that. Everything just in an instant, relationship will just work out. But it's not like that. So I did meet a couple of men just before I got married, like a few years leading into my marriage. I did date somebody from college, but it was hardly, you can't call it a full-blown relationship.
Yeah.
This was during my final year, and he actually
Yeah.
unfortunately passed away.
Oh,
And it was a very bad,
Yeah.
it was a very bad experience for all of us, for all the friends, big shock. And you're caught in the momentum of your career at that time. And even before you realize you're 23, 24 years old. And at the time when I had, what was interesting was even before I got into a relationship, my diagnosis happened,
Really?
which was in 2009.
I thought it happened after your marriage.
No, I got married after
Okay.
my first year of my cancer.
Treatment.
Yeah,
Treatment.
yeah.
Okay.
My treatment was over. I was back in cinema again, and I was in a good flow. So one of the reasons for me to be in haste, I would say, is to probably, now that I look back, I think is to fulfill all the other, expectations I have out of myself as a woman. You suddenly want to fast forward your life.
Absolutely.
And I was very happy with where I was in my career because I had already done very good films prior to 2009 and 10. Even my comeback with Kada Tudarunu, 2010 with Satyanandika sir's film. What was beautiful about this comeback was also that I embraced, this time when I came back, I did cinema like I really wanted to do cinema.
Not to correct all the angles and the
Not
mistakes.
that.
No,
There was
you were immersed.
I was not bothered about just the love for performance, and both my legs were in this time because until I was diagnosed, and in this time you need to understand I've done my first Tamil film and also done 5 Telugu films between 2000, and also did my entry as a singer in Telugu. So all of this happened.
You
in
sang
those
for
years.
Rocky.
I know,
The film
Rocky,
that I was also there for. Yeah,
Then,
I remember that.
Aakaleste Anam Pedta, which was
Aakaleste.
Daddy Mummy.
What a beautiful
Veetulille.
song that is.
Daddy Mummy Veetulille. All that happened, and I did not have relationship practice or dating practice. Like I don't know what it is like to, get into a relationship and how I would be when I am in a relationship. What am I expecting out of this marriage? But the one thing that I did understand was I did meet 2 guys very briefly prior to getting married, right after my coming out of cancer. One was it was very silly. Now, how much of trust are we placing in another person? How seriously are we being taken? All this matters. Because, I mean, if I can be very honest, one of the guys that I dated, I've only dated one guy from cinema back then. And believe you me, he was just engaged when he asked me out on a date. And I got to know that only a month later when I asked him. I found out from his brother that, he has been seeing someone, and I think he's, I should tell you honestly, he's also engaged. And I said, what? Then why did he ask me out on a date? So there was a little bit of a lie there. Obviously, I was heartbroken because this was the first time I told my mom, someone has asked me out on a date and may I go? And she said yes. So, because she was not really okay with me dating or, meeting other men, or it was always, I'm an only child and very protective of me. Then I met another guy who was AWOL, always MIA. Message, call, he's not there. He would call after 4 days, after 5 days. I'm like, this is not for me. That led to me, like, I should not be wasting my time. I know I met Brajit, which was my ex-husband, at his twin sister's wedding. And during that wedding, it was a very casual thing because he's from Bahrain. I've known of him. We're not childhood friends, but I've seen him once when we were 13 or 14 years old. He's 2 days younger to me. So everything was very interesting. So we connected on silly things like, hey, you're a Scorpio, I'm a Scorpio. Chalo. He said, do you think we can get married? Because my twin sister's marriage just got over.
Okay.
Marriage just got over. So I said, yeah, okay, fine, talk to my dad. It was as simple as that.
Yeah, that quick.
That quick.
Because you were like fulfilling all the
checklist.
It was
just my checklist. That's it. And I thought, okay, chalo, I did try. I gave a little tease in feeling something and going on a date, and maybe that's not for me. So come, slap yourself and bring yourself to reality. Marriage means work. You have to work in a relationship, no matter whom you get married to. And I thought just because I'm done with this 1 year of my cancer, I thought people will take me seriously, or my partners will take me seriously. But I was too young to know any better. And even before I realized, I think in 6 months, I had to walk away from it. And it was not an easy decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely not, because I insisted on that marriage.
Yeah.
It was not my parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I even told something very rudely to my mom when she asked me, Mamta, are you sure about this? Because I'm not sure if we will really sync with the family, because they're a very big business family and we are a middle class, very structured sort of a family in Bahrain. And I said, Mom, I've just been through my ordeal with my health. And I need a companion. So you can't stop me. It was, and I said it in a very rude manner, which I don't want to say to camera. And she just said, give the phone to your dad. And I think she just told him, so that's how it led to the dad's meeting and the wedding happened. And then, I just realized I knew nothing about being married.
Yeah, I believe you.
And I did not have a sibling, due to which I am not used to fighting for things that I want. I'm not used to arguments. We're a very spiritual and quiet family, the three of us. So due to that, I don't know how to raise my voice. So if someone shouts at me or raises their voice at me, I used to cry. I'm broken and I don't know how to fix myself. Then I start getting scared. Oh my God, if I cry like this, my cancer is going to come back. So there were so many fears inside me. And this is ultimately what led to, I did not know how to work through
Do you
problems.
think the health issue, something that big when it comes, all the pros and cons, the relationships, do they change? Like in your personal life, your relationship before your health issue and after that, did it change? And did relationships, did they look different?
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
And at that point, did you think like, I have to be with people or in a space where it really matters?
Yeah, because you start, I think the biggest change is you take yourself more seriously. I mean, to be honest, if I'm going to put it very simply, I tell people that it is very strange that I do not remember every single day of my life prior to my diagnosis. That means half the people that we see around us are half asleep on a daily basis. So was I. But post my experience with my first, diagnosis and all that, I'm awake to every single day, every single second of my life. I remember. It's etched in my memory.
Nothing is taken for granted.
Nothing is taken for. So I was like, so then what was I doing last year? I cannot remember. I don't have a clear memory. Whereas now here, whom I meet, what has been exchanged, what is the core memories, you start building them and they mean so much more to you. So obviously that means that's going to reflect in your choices, with whom you share your time, in whom you invest your energy. It can even be what kind of time you spend with your parents or family and friends. You really start filtering it, because your energy is so much more valuable to you. Because suffering and healing requires a lot of energy. Yeah.
So you think things have changed from the time you were diagnosed and treatment today? Things have changed a lot in terms of health? Yeah.
Health? Yeah, a lot. Because see, my experience with cancer was not just a one-time thing. So they later told me that I have a thing called refractory Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is usually Hodgkin's is a very easily curable cancer of the lymph nodes.
But no surgery. There is
no surgery. You can only remove the lymph node and then treat,
no surgery at all.
And, whatever, right? Radiation. But later on, I read that, 15% people, they get refractory lymphoma, which can keep coming back once in a while. What you need to manage is your triggers and the inflammation in your body. And the more you manage, the better you manage that, the lesser are the chances of episodes. So, but I went through the whole 9 years of, treatment. 6 years in Chennai.
I just wanted to ask you, did you have someone other than family who held your hand, laughed and cried with you and made it a little easier for you?
Probably, I should be honest, not.
No.
I had a cousin or two who intimate. They're all younger cousins. I'm one of the older cousins. So what happens is all the others, you're waiting for the boys and girls to grow up so that they can understand what you're going through. So I had one second cousin, Vishnu, and then my mom's sister's younger son, who's again 15 years younger to me. So he's still a kid back then, so, but they were there at least to intermittently take me out for a walk. I have a couple of friends here in Chennai whom I met. I think I used to not, I would never frequent Chennai. I didn't have a reason to frequent Chennai at the time. But I think at the time, I told you after my experience with cancer, I was trying to take my career seriously. And I really wanted a breakthrough role in Tamil. So when I was trying to do my PR exercise over here, I had just met a few people in association with that. And for some reason, the next month, I start my, trying to get a Tamil film. And the very next month, my diagnosis happens. And the friends who were trying to help me out with my career eventually became closest with our family.
Oh, lovely.
And I didn't have to stand in lines and, at an Apollo or, I got the kind of care I could have, the best care that I could have received at that time.
So you're saying there was no unexpected lighter moment with a person who was supporting you at all?
See, that being said, so what I spoke about earlier was my personal life. My personal life, I always run back to my parents, and then I had a couple of cousins who were nice to me. But surprisingly, one of the biggest blessings that I had upon the news of my diagnosis, I think this was God sent, or maybe somewhere, indirectly God sends people, to touch your life in a very special way. And it came very unexpectedly. This was when, on the day of my diagnosis, I'm sitting there with my paper in hand. I know my dad was actually consoling my mom. My mom was howling and crying. I remember the sound in my ear. It was really bad. And it was in a hotel room in Chennai, actually. And I received Nag sir's call. And Nagarjuna sir and me, we had just done a film prior to that. And one of the things that I had told him on the last day of shoot, of that movie shoot, was, this was a movie called King, in which Trisha and I were both, heroines. I told him that, this was not the character that was actually told to me. And I'm very new in the Telugu industry, so no voice. I didn't have somebody representing me or anything at the time, no manager, nothing. So I told him on the last day, I said, I'm a little disappointed because this was not the kind of role that they had discussed initially when the writer told me the story. And I think my character is really sidelined. And half the scenes that were told to me were not even shot because this was my last day of shoot. And he said, Acha, I didn't know this was going on. He said, whom did you take the narration from? He got the details. So he said, don't, and Nag sir being the way, he's very sophisticated, polished man. He just told me, don't worry, we'll find a solution, Mamta. But I'm glad you told me this. So this happened almost a year and a half ago. And he gives me a call on this particular day. And he said, Mamta, I had a story in mind and we're planning to go on floor very soon. Would you be interested? And he said, I can call the director and give you the, it's a very simple, give me a gist of what it is. So I'm just very quiet and just listening to it. I said, Nag sir, I don't think I can do this movie or any movie hereafter. And I just broke down on the phone. And he said, Mamta, I called you because you remember, no, we had that, I wanted to, wanted to kind of also make up for, what happened, and I had you in mind. And I don't understand what you're saying right now. I think you're not in a good place. I'll check on you in a few days, but we'll start shooting the childhood portion. But maybe 1 month from now, you can come and join us. So he just gave this little hope. Something to look forward to is what he gave me in a very simple way.
Okay.
Now that I look back. And they planned the shoot in such, I had 6 months of chemo, 12 chemos within 6 months, which was my first round upon my, first ABVD, like my diagnosis. And this is all new to me, new territory. I don't know how I'll feel after chemo. I've only heard or read bad things and, how difficult it's going to be. And they planned the film in such a way that all of the talkie, including one song, was filmed over a span of 6 months, which they did not have to do. I know that they scheduled everything exactly to fit my chemo schedules. And I was able to finish that film. And I remember on just before my last chemo, we had come to almost the stark end of the shoot of the film. And he asked me, Mamta, where do you want to go for our, foreign song shoot? And I said, are you asking me? He said, yeah. I said, well, I want to go to this place, that place, and Greece was one of the places that I said. Then he thought about it for some time. He said, Chal, Greece it is. I said, are you serious? I went to, my mom was in the caravan. I told her, this thing actually happened. And then 2 weeks down the road, I think it was the first week of December in 2009, me, mom, Amla ma'am and Nag sir, we were all going to Greece for shooting this. I mean, this is like the, how much it meant to me at that time. To be honest, I probably did not know how much it had enhanced my, how much it had taken away from the pain that I was experiencing and how much it had made my time through my first chemos better.
Okay.
And I have so much appreciation for that. And I had to grow up a little more. See, at 24, 25, back then, very, very gullible, very naive.
I know.
And I did not know how to even say, I'm feeling the thank you, I'm feeling the gratitude. But I did not know how can I call someone as, like, even though I'm working with him as his hero and I'm not able to call him and tell him thank you. And because my journey with my cancer also did not end there. It still had a relapse a year or two later and, it still kept going. So always in your mind, you think, when this gets over, when this health drama is over, I'll call everybody and reconnect. But that never happened.
So I'll have a funny episode of cancer treatment. One of my cousins.
Before you get into that, I need to tell you one more thing. Do you know that the only person from the film industry who came and saw me when I had just finished my bone marrow transplant was you?
Yeah. I didn't know that. I just came to see you.
Personally, I personally wanted to ask you, because your manager, my mom suddenly gets a call saying that Suhasini ma'am is going to come and, see Mamta. And we were like, what is the connection? What is the relationship? Not like I worked with Mani sir or anything, Why? Because I had just gotten discharged after my 30 days of isolation in, BMT. And it was a very, very special visit. Another reason why I wanted to, actually one of the reasons why I also wanted to, come here and do this. And it is just to have that opportunity to say thank you.
Okay. You started your thank yous.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting my thank you and I have to give you a hug for that. Because I never could.
Thank you.
And I always had a question. Why? Like, why did you what was our connection for you to make me that visit? Did you have someone in your life?
No, absolutely not.
At the time? No.
Absolutely not. I didn't have anyone who had any kind of illness at home. There are some questions for which you don't have answers.
It's one of them?
Yes. I can't think of
there's
anything
so
why
many
I
people
came
who
to
have
see
gone
you.
through-
And I
Yeah.
can't forget how you spoke. And I don't want to say it in front of camera, that the sentence that you told me, it is stuck in my head forever. And I still don't know why I came and saw you. I came and saw you because I'm human. I'm
I mean,
a human
how many
being.
humans do we have?
Yes, we have.
No, because I'm saying you're the only person who's
Yeah.
come and seen me
Seriously.
during my treatment.
And I remember what your mother said to me.
Yeah,
Why can't God give whatever she has to me
yeah,
and make her
that's
all right?
mothers, yes,
I
gosh.
remember your mother saying that. Anyway, I have a funny story about this was much later.
Much later.
But,
Yeah,
when did I come and see you? Before COVID?
2013. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
months before 13. So during COVID, one of my cousins who's very, very close to me,
Okay.
very beautiful woman, 1 year older to me,
Okay.
tall, really beautiful. She's well built,
Mm-hmm.
looks like an athlete. She called me and she said, I've been diagnosed with cancer and I need to start my chemotherapy and my surgery. And I didn't react and I said, why are you telling me now? When did you get it done? And she got it done about 1 week ago. Her daughter was leaving for Singapore
Okay.
during COVID.
Okay.
So she didn't want her to know about it till she went home.
Until she got
And then,
there, yeah.
so she waited for her to come out of that isolation in Singapore and reached back home to her husband. That's when she's, and then I told her, you are moving in with me. So
Okay.
she moved in with me and we were ready for the, first chemo.
Yeah.
It was during COVID.
Yeah.
So the masks were on.
It's not an easy
She's a
time.
tall, well-built, beautiful woman.
Yeah.
And I think during COVID, I was eating my own foods. I was very thin. Maybe I was puny. And we both had masks. So every time we went into the hospital the first day, the nurse said, come. And she used to take me. I said, I'm not the patient.
It's not
I'm not
me,
the
it's
patient.
not me.
And I said, it's not me. Then we went for a blood test. Immediately one nurse pulled my hand. And I said, I'm not the patient. I'm not the patient. And then we went for a scan. Again, they were pulling me and my cousin said, I'm the patient, I'm the patient. So it started like that. We were laughing so much.
Yeah.
And the doctor came and looked and we both removed the mask and said, I'm the patient, I'm not the patient. And he laughed and what is happening? I've never seen cancer patients come like this, laughing so much. That's how it started.
Yeah.
That's why I said sometimes when difficult things happen, something like this crazy happens.
Of course.
And then
I agree.
you're there.
I think I had my own, I think I was my own best friend at the time because I used to have this, I used to have a habit of ordering a lot of fun looking wigs. And I would wear these and go for my chemos because I think third chemo, I had to go and remove my hair because it was just
the hair is another problem.
Over.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the other thing is we are in cinema, so people know, people can see.
Yeah,
that's another thing. So I bought the largest sunglasses I can ever get. Like they almost look like half visors, so it covers half your face. And then start wearing fun wigs. So I used to pride in wearing these different wigs for each chemo, and even though I feel like shit, it was. I used to enjoy just doing that, and I think you find humor in it.
Were you closed or were you open during your treatment?
During my treatment?
During your healing process itself?
No, I had to really.
In terms of relationship, in terms of meeting people and.
No, there was no meeting people during my treatment. It is very hard. I mean, I don't expect a 24, 25-year-old person to actually meet someone in the same age or similar age group who is going to spend time in the hospital with someone going through it. I mean, it was not like that back then. It was tough to, first of all, it's so tough to meet individuals. We are working and unless you really talk about it, which I came out with my cancer only, I think, close to 2 years after I was, I was done with my treatments. So by end of 2010 is when I spoke about it. So, but after, I got married after my first round of, my treatments. And like I said, I think there was a part of me that might have been insecure, due to which I wanted to move fast, get married, have a child, yada, 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 make sure all those things are done.
Okay.
But I didn't really think through those things.
So you said that you had to be close because the other people were not open during the relationship in your age group.
For relationship.
Obviously, because
of busy drinking and partying at the time, my friends.
Yeah, so that's what you said. But I wanted to ask you, In relationships too, did that play an important role, vital role of you? Did that stop you from meeting anybody and kind of proposing your emotions to another
Yeah.
person?
See, it took a lot more time for me to first understand who I am, what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are. It was more about self discovery that was important than going and meeting people. I think what was more important was to understand who I am as a person completely, how I would be, what my expectations in a relationship is. Am I someone who's going to gain the confidence to work through a situation that does not fit me perfectly? So that I needed to what I you need to be relationship smart as well. You can't just think that relationship is just going to float on love, the emotion called love alone, or what you feel, that emotional love. That alone is not going to make a relationship work. You need companionship, you need friendship in that. You need um, you need to feel safe. There is an element of, especially when it comes to me, because I've gone through my health issue, it's not something that I can take very lightly. And I don't think I do very well in stressful environments.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't meet someone who is actually sorted and has a maturity to really think through a lot of things, then I don't fit well. And I understand that now. And that has taken me going on a few dates after I moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
So from a very rule-based country like Bahrain and very conservative upbringing like Kerala or South India, where the mother is always there, and the industry cinema where you talk to somebody, it's gossip, and you don't want to be connected to the wrong person, even if it is fiction.
Avoid meeting anybody.
Yeah, so
sit at home.
And from there, so where do people meet each other openly and then like find similar interest, and that actually this person is somebody I want to spend time with, try going out with? Did that happen in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I did, because I explored the culture of online dating when I moved to LA. It was something that I'd never even thought about doing, and I'd moved to LA, and obviously when I moved, I did not know that my treatment is going to work for me or not, because I went for a clinical study, and that itself was a risk. But it was also a miracle, because I think I ran out of all the options for treatments in India at the time. I'd done everything under the sun here. So moving to LA and getting that little bit of hope where, I was experiencing a lot of pain when I went to LA. It was pretty unbelievable. I could not even, it was very bad pain, almost terminal pain. So the moment I had started taking the dose of my immunotherapy, my new study drug, and the pain stopped, it gave me hope again. It's like, okay, so it's doing something. I don't know if it's going to help me in the long run, but right now it's doing something, and I'm able to sleep peacefully again, without pain, without having to be on oxycodone or, on like morphine or whatever strong drugs. And every day it starts getting better from there. And then again, you feel hope, you get hope, then you start feeling hopeful for life again. A year passed. I've started looking better, feeling better. Cinema called me again. I did a movie called Two Countries, which was a mega blockbuster comedy. And what I needed was humor at the time. So that was the right genre of film. So that happened. So 2 years have passed now in LA. I'm having a great time. I'm having freedom. So now I've also understood, what do you do with all your free time? Nobody's watching you. You are free to do anything. But what I learned is you learn to be the best version of yourself. And that gave me the confidence to put myself out there. I was like, why not try? I need a companion. It's safe here. I know I'm going to be meeting a bunch of strangers, but take the chance. And maybe, people here will be a little more receptive to understanding, what dating someone with cancer might be. Let me explore. And I met men in LA. It was, your profile is very self-descriptive because you do not hide anything over there. I don't need to hide my pictures. Because I've met people here who've told me that they've tried online dating here, but half of their pictures are blurred. They don't write their bio properly. They don't reveal anything about themselves. So if you start your foundation in secrecy, then how do you expect to make that a good relationship? You get what I'm saying? So there's no transparency. And that is there in our, there's a lot, of that is very negative here in our culture. So that openness, and I explored that. So that environment made me a more open person as well. No fear of judgment anymore. How he sees me. 2-3 dates we go on, have a few coffees, we talk. Third date, it doesn't feel right. Fine, man. You know what? I don't think this is working out. We can be friends.
But I think it's a long way to go in India, isn't it? If your brother is, going for a dinner with somebody, immediately sister says, bring her home.
Why?
The mother says, bring her home.
Not yet.
Before he decides, everyone decides.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that has happened with to be honest, that's happened with my family when I dated a couple of guys in the States as well.
Okay, bring him home. Let us find out how he is.
I know. My mom happened to be in America at the time. And this boy was from Phoenix. He's still a very, very good chap, okay? And he's a doctor. And I had just gone on 3 coffees with him. 1 pizza, 2 coffee dates. Yeah. So he's dropping me back. By then, my dad has apparently called up our family friend and said, please do background check on his family.
Private detective.
First day, it was very good. Second day, he's downloading a whole lot of that guy's previous relationship or previous marriages, full history. It was bad news. Yeah. And I knew I'm coming back, and that really took away from the
So the family still interferes in India. Huh? Yeah. Family interference is still there in India.
It's there. So they just cannot let up. Yeah. A year later, my dad was like, actually, he was a good boy. I was like, you messed it up, man, for me. You made it so hard. Because you have your fears. Yeah. You're trying to bypass your fears and gain strength. And there's so much faith and hope each time you try to go, we girls, right? Like we Indian girls, we do have our those things will never go away from us. Even if, it's very hard to kill that. We're a little old-fashioned in certain beliefs that we
Not little, lots.
Yeah. We try to hold on to it like for dear life. Why? Because tomorrow you have a child, you want to pass something on to that next generation, right? Otherwise, nothing will be there. As it is, nothing is there. So you hold on to these things with your dear life. And there's so much fear when you go to meet the guy on the first date. Chalo, okay, second date happens, third. If somebody messes it up for you, trust me, all that fear comes back in. So is this guy lying to me? Is he trying to, take me for a ride? And that is really bad. That is it's very, because it kills you. It's just straight jab in your belly, in your heart. And then you just cannot put yourself out there again. Again, you need a break. So it's again, push yourself back into work life again. So this way, I think for professional women who are in limelight or not even corporate, these second chances are getting very delayed. And therefore, remarriages are very questionable. By now, you think too much. More than your heart, your brain jumps in and, there's this fight between the brain and the heart.
Okay.
And the more you know how to think, and I think there's also a downside to it. The innocence is gone. And now you're too rigid in your way. And they say that after 35, 40, you're so rigid in your ways that it's so hard to mold your life with a new individual.
No, I'm sure there'll be a child who will wake up and say, don't be mature anymore. This is love. Yeah. This is happiness. Go for it.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah. But then I think there's always the family that keeps a check on you. They need you too. So I'm like, I'm caught in the middle of this. But I continue to be an open person, and I'm not shy up to talk about the relationships that I've had. I learn from each one of them more about myself than
absolutely.
And another mistake that I have done when I was much younger was when I had just gotten divorced, I went into another relationship right away. And later on in life, I learned those are called rebounds. They're very bad for you. You've not even asked yourself the questions why that did not work out. You're probably subconsciously blaming that previous partner. But actually, there is a lot of accountability that we need to take when relationships don't go right either. Point fingers at yourself. What could you have done differently? And learning how to communicate in the right manner. Silent treatment is not going to build a relationship. conversation is so important. So coming from a quiet family, you can imagine how much making dialogue would have been difficult for me. So, and opposites attract. You attract a man who's loud, who's who's larger than life. You attract such men when you're silent inside. But you need to learn to kind of, ride the tide, I guess. And I learned that much later, because my learning also could be slow, and relationship or that one person could be delayed, because I deal with a lot of things that consume my energy, which is my health.
So you've been very open about your health, and today you've been very open about your relationships too. So people like us, we were in the pre-social media era, and now we are all scared of social media. We're just trying to get in, and and we'll come away if it's going to bite us. But you are all enjoying the social media
now.
What are the advantages when you were open earlier and now? Is it any better because you can clarify things?
So I would say a good quarter or more than quarter of my time in cinema or in my public life. This is my 20th year, by the way. So until 2013 or 14, I don't think there was any real medium for us to directly communicate anything in real time with the people.
So there was a lot of misinformation.
Yeah, a lot of misinformation or no information at all. In fact, most of, I used to tell people there's so much body of work of ours that people have not seen because of the time that we were in. And all of a sudden, everything is out there. And just as delayed as, our news used to come out, therefore is the support that you're given at that time too. By the time I spoke about what I had dealt with, the time for support is already over. I didn't cry out, I did not cry out, I didn't cry for help. But today, I think when anybody goes through anything, the cry is immediate and the support is immediate too.
That's wonderful, yes.
That is one of the biggest differences that I have personally felt. And so therefore, I think people who have, even I am very, very restrained when it comes to expressing my dailies on social media. I'm a little between there and the current generation, right? So I feel that I shouldn't use social media as a tool to, recruit support, because how much of it is real? There's so many questions are there. You want support coming from your immediate environment, who are real people whom you can touch and feel, and whose breath you can feel. So, but I also feel that the other side of it, the advantage is how lonely you don't feel anymore while you're going through what you're going through. There are so many people who come forward talking about their own stories that can inspire you and therefore make your journey a little easier. In fact, I remember recently I'd seen a post of someone who was just diagnosed and going for their child's first chemo, and the child is born and the parents have already shaved their heads too. And they've posted a picture. And that shows so much, because that, I think during my transplant, my mum and my driver had shaved their heads too. Because that's how I came back from the hospital without hair. So, but we didn't have any medium to put it out, and gain more support. But we just kept that picture within us, and it's a very core memory for us. But social media has a lot of plus and positive sides as well, in terms of, I think even in cinema, I would say today, when a girl goes through something and she's very vocal about it in an instant, and then she basically records and posts, her entire journey, and, it comes out as a reel, and then immediately, everybody feels like we should give her another film, like bring her up. It's instant. And it was not like that back then. So, this is the difference between how social media can play have a positive impact. Yeah.
You said you're open, looking forward. So what excites you now?
What excites me now? Everything excites me in life. I've been every
Singing.
day.
You sing?
Yeah, I still sing.
Yeah.
See,
You sing
travel
every day?
excites me a lot. I travel a lot. I mean, in fact, this year I've already traveled to 3 countries already. The year is just opened. And I've told myself this year I'm going to make sure that every 2 months I travel to a new country. And that is something that has been very exciting.
Travel, does that mean new relationships?
No.
New friends? No, it's only with you?
No, it's
with
mostly
yourself?
solo or my
Yeah.
besties.
Yeah,
Or, I also want to go on a proper wellness retreat this year.
Okay.
So I'm kind of planning my finances for it, which again is another thing, right?
Yes.
When you're a single woman and you don't have anyone to support or advise you, you know, kind of trying to plan how to create new revenue streams for yourself and how to manage those finances. And I take care of my family. And right now I'm currently building a house for my folks in Kerala. So there is a lot of financial burden. So all of this, I need my needs to be met. I need their needs to be met. And I try to take that as like an adventure. It'll come. Stay positive. Even when the films are slow, something other new doors will open. So I try to keep myself motivated. It's very difficult. I will have difficult days. Sometimes something will trouble me or something will mentally trouble me. But always try to excite yourself with something. And in that, even I like going for drives.
Okay.
It's very therapeutic.
I've seen you with cars, like
yeah.
exotic cars, and I see you there with those cars.
Car comes, car goes. Sometimes the car is what you can put under to complete a payment on something. That is life. This is called financial regulation.
Yeah.
I think men have a lot more. I do believe in this financial disparity that we have between genders.
Yeah.
I don't fight it.
Okay.
It's universal. I think. But women need to know how to think about secure their future. Even if they were going to be alone tomorrow, how to secure their future.
Mamta, is there anything called perfect marriage or a perfect relationship? No, not at all.
No. I mean, you can try and the joy is in trying to perfect it, no?
Yeah.
But see, I think there has to be one level of, like I think off the record we were talking about it, and I said there is something known as you can work with this person. You can work this relationship with that person. Because some people genuinely don't fit. And you can't expect 2 pieces from 2 completely different puzzles to fit. But if you can find one piece that lies anywhere in that puzzle, there is a high chance that, you can find your way to each other. Mm-hmm. And that, unfolding that is what makes that relationship beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any non-negotiables in terms of relationship for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few. Okay. I need a person who, I like people who fight gracefully, not violently. Mm-hmm. I don't like violent fights because it leaves a bad taste. Then there is no coming back from that. I don't like unkempt and disorganized men.
Yes.
Hygiene, very important. Of course, there's these things of dishonesty and all that is, of course, everybody's non-negotiable, I think. I like a little bit of romance and warmth. I don't like men who are only about their job and only about their careers and they forget to be in touch with themselves. I like sensitive men, and I kind of get along better with men who are borderline hybrid. They have that little bit of feminine sensitivity. And I don't mind men who cry. I think it is very sexy, who are in touch with their own feelings. And because I think I'm good at playing, like 2 roles, alpha and a beta in a relationship. And we can take turns. And I think, of course, I want him to like good cars and, travel a lot and similar to me. Some things which I also really
build houses for the parents.
No, I'm not expecting anybody to really do that. But yeah, if I do, I think nowadays, the older that I've gotten, I don't think I will be able to live with a man who still lives with his parents. I would definitely like to have a nuclear life to begin. Living in is okay for me. Yeah. My parents are not too hell-bent on. Of course, they want to see me with one. I would like to get remarried. But it has to really be someone that I can, I have fun. Yeah. putting this work in with, you know. Both people have to be interested
It's
in
good to
working
know
this
you're
relationship.
open, you're not closed.
I am,
So
no, why?
when you're open, things are going to happen.
Life is beautiful.
Yes, it
yeah.
is. So what advice will you give to people who are hesitant and closed?
The first question I think they need to ask themselves is, why are they hesitant and closed? And what made them? Is it their family? Is it culture? Is it regret? Is there something that they did wrong? Most often when people carry a negative emotion such as being closed is because they have some element of hurt or regret that they have not really faced. And I think the best solution or the best first step would be to address those. Remove the knots that is there internally in your system or in your conscience. Therefore, you will become.
And if they find some hope, how to keep going?
Yeah. I mean, the more open they are, you will keep going.
Okay.
You know, just see, gratitude plays a huge role in all this.
Okay.
Every day, if you know that you're able to breathe, I mean, post-COVID, a lot of people should have, at least have had that awakening, right? Which a lot of people have forgotten by now already.
Yes.
I think just that you're able to breathe, that means you're given yet another chance to welcome, any good opportunity and attract it. So remove the knots in your system. That's very, very important. Ask yourself the most difficult questions. There will be a lot of regrets. There will be a lot of, maybe you need to say sorry to a few other partners whose hearts you broke, or maybe they broke yours, and that is why you're close to trying another relationship. There's nothing like being, there are a lot of people who go through separations and there's still a lot of blame, and you cannot move forward like that. Remember the good things from previous relationships and hold on to the good memories. And the more good you carry in you, the more positive, memories you get. If certain people are toxic, I understand, cut them off. But there is a nice way to cut it off too. I think this is what is good for the two of us. I wish you all the best, and in your head, you'll be like, good riddance. Right? But be open, be honest with yourself. And I think the moment you do that, I don't think there's any reason for anyone to not be able to find love or even invite disease for that matter. Yeah.
So finally, Mamta,
Yeah.
can you describe second sunrise in one sentence?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Was this there on the question? Second sunrise in
one sentence. What does it mean to you?
I'm just going to put it as simple as I am second sunrise.
Oh, yes. Living example of model of second sunrise.
Yes.
Because the girl I saw in the Nugambakam apartment and to today.
I still remember her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good luck, Mamta.
Thank you so much.
And
it's been great sharing.
Good luck with your
you.
health and happiness and your parents.
Thank you.
I love them.
Yeah. Yes. My mom loves you too.
Yeah. Tell them send them my regards.
Definitely.
And I hope you find lots of happiness and lots of work and wonderful. But
you should put in a word for money, sir.
Yes, I will tell him.
Yeah, tell him.
But can I have a personal request? Can I ask you? Can you sing 2 lines of a song that brings absolute hope to you? Because everybody has that one song. It can be any language that brings the hope of sunrise or second sunrise or happiness.
Well, I like this song very much. It's a very old song. It's a happy song.
Yeah.
आज मैं ऊपर आसमां नीचे, आज मैं आगे ज़माना है पीछे, आज मैं ऊपर आसमां नीचे, आज मैं आगे ज़माना है पीछे. Tell me, ओ खुदा, अब मैं क्या करूं, चलो सीधी या उल्टी चलो, आज मैं ऊपर आसमां नीचे.
Wow, thank you so much, Mamta.
That's life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.